I know, guys, you're probably getting bored of the bow ties, but I got them almost where I want them. So for this cut right here, I did a little bit of chamber work, and not a huge amount either. I mean, I took it out a touch more because that's how I like to do the fuelies. So I did bring that out a bit, and I wanted to see what would happen to my short side radius speeds and my roof speeds. As far as the liquid, it doesn't seem like it goes quite as far around on that side of the port. We still got a nice splatter all the way around the chamber. Let's see how we did inside. Okay, I don't think it's quite as good around the valve as it was. And it looks like it's not as close to the roof as it was. Okay, so what we wound up doing is by machining out this chamber some more, it's a lot closer to being finished now. We changed the amount of air that comes out in that part of the chamber and all along this wall, which is going to change our swirl, and it's going to change the way our dykem flows in. Okay, it looks pretty good. The exhaust did get a little work over. Even though it was cartridge rolled, I didn't like a bunch of lumps and bumps that I saw in there. So I went over it with a light burr texture, even it up. I did some measuring, and I actually did quite a good job as far as casting thickness from the 90s. The roof is pretty much at my limit for where I would go. It's about 125 thousandths, which is plenty thick, but I don't really like making the exhaust much thinner than that. And it's still a very small exhaust. I did wind up bringing the outside wall out a touch, and actually I gave it a touch more area on the straight wall side as well, because of the way the airspeeds were. Let's see if that makes any difference. Now, I did these tests with the plain valve again, which is just a 45 cut, no back cut, no radius on the valve. Okay, here's our sheet from last time you've seen it. It was the third cut. Did some roof and short side radius work on the intake, and we tried a different exhaust valve. This one, the only thing different is I did that little bit of chamber cut. Otherwise, that intake port hasn't been changed. Now, I wasn't thrilled about my short side radius speeds here. So, but what I figured was, after I cut the chamber, those would change, and I was right. So, let's see how we compare. So these numbers compared to these numbers, let's take a look at our pluses and minuses. We've got a slight minus here. Plus, plus, slight minus. Plus, plus, equals, minus, plus. We got a decent hit at 500. We went from 286 to 290. 290 is a pretty good number at 500. Okay? And you know what else was different? As soon as it got around here, right, this is my 0.567. We got a slight gain, but it started losing it again, but it lost it at a slightly higher lift across the short side radius. And when you see the short side radius speeds, you'll know why. Okay, plus, plus, plus. I haven't CC'd this port yet, but it's not a giant port, and it's doing pretty good. As far as our swirl, plus, plus, minus, plus, 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 minus, plus, minus, 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 minus. Right in this area, we're pretty good. 1978 at my lift is downright where I want it to be. So we're good. We're good as far as swirl. And, you know, it changed a little bit from the other one. Not a huge change, though. Not a huge change between them. which is kind of interesting because it gives, you have more area on that side of the chamber, so you would think it would change the swirl considerably. It only changed it a little bit, but I didn't take a huge amount of metal out either. I actually took a quick look at the vortex. Just a reminder of how the vortex chamber is really knocked out in here. Now, this being way back right here, I don't completely agree with. But see how this is taken away? Really deep? That's nice. If it was me, I think I would try to fill this in just a little bit, and I think it would work a little better. Because coming off your top cut into nothing would cause turbulence. If you had top cut and then radius nicely into the chamber, a little tighter, I think it would work better. Just my opinion, guys. Alright, moving on to the exhaust. I burred the exhaust with the light burr, and I did take a little bit of area out on either side of the bowl, so it's a slightly bigger exhaust port, but it was tiny before, so it's still small. Up, 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 up. It's got one minus. So I'm going to say it's happier, even with the slightly rougher texture. It's a little bit happier exhaust. Now, is it a huge difference in the flows? No, they're pretty close, and they should be, because there's not a lot of difference between the ports. But I'll take a CFM here and a half a CFM there anytime. Okay, and if you put a big pipe on it with more lift, we're really cranking. So it's an efficient shape. Now let's take a look at our speeds at 5.567. Oh, I also measured the size of the throat before I did any work on that exhaust, and I worked from that point on. I have not changed the throat size, so the throat is still quite tight. Let's do a ratio on that throat. Okay, guys, sorry, I got lost in my calculations. Okay, now I only did the exhaust throat. Sorry, exhaust throat's over here. I only measured that at the minimum on the port. Okay, which is this area here. It is not under the third cut. Notice I don't have a third cut. I radius that out. Okay, so there's only one measurement I can use, and it's the narrowest section of the port. Okay, so I just take my calipers and I ease it into, and whatever that measurement is the measurement on that side. And the way I do it, it's going to be slightly different than this measurement. Okay, that's a DV trick, and it does seem to help. Okay, so measuring the exhaust port that way, it's a very tight 83.7%. Now, my go-to number for an exhaust throat is about 86. So these are really tight, but they're getting it done. All right, at 500, we're almost 200 CFM. We're going to leave it. Now, the intake port throat, okay, it's a little bit bigger short side radius side. Now actually I did the throat two different ways, because there's always a problem with doing throat ratios. If I go to the bottom of the third cut, it comes out to 93%. Okay? So it's a little bigger one way than the other way, so you average them together, 1915, and that'll give you your percentage. Okay, and anyone who knows anything about cylinder heads is going to say 93 is really pushing your luck. Okay. Now, if I measure down the bowl a little bit, it gets a little bit tighter. Okay, from 1.9 to 1.78. 1.83. Average them out. 1.805, that's 87.8% throat. My go-to number for throats, 88. Okay, and as you can tell, for a relatively small port, we're getting it done. I don't remember if we went over the airspeeds. Let's go over them quick. Minus, minus, plus, and we're flowing more. So I'm going to take that as a win, right? More even than they were. That's a win. Okay, roof, 177, 190. Up, down, almost dead even. That's tough to beat. Now, this is what our short side radius was. Fast, fast. 370. Okay, went up quite a bit here. Which is kind of interesting because you relieve the chamber and the short side speeds up on the other side of the bowl. That is not the first time I've seen that. Okay, so we've got a plus, plus, minus. I would like to knock that down a touch. And I think I'm done at that point. After I kick this down a teensy bit more, I think we're going to live with this the way it is. I mean, I would like to get rid of that turbulence where it starts losing it over the short side radius, 0.56. But it's not the end of the world if it does. Believe me, because I know how it ran before where it was losing it way earlier than that. We're good. Okay. These are our exhaust numbers, right? Compared to these, we've got a minus, plus, plus, okay? Evening these up a little bit more, that's a good thing. Plus, plus, minus, it got even deader in that center there, unfortunately. And minus, plus, plus, these changed a little bit, but they're more even. Okay, so the answer to the question was try to make them more even. Use that area a little bit better, right? Because it did go up a tiny amount. I think I'm done with the exhaust as far as development. I think we're good to go. I want to show you the chamber. Almost forgot. Okay, now we've finally got a little bit of splattering of thick dykem on the cylinder wall, and then we have dots all the way around. I'm going to say we're done fiddling with that, to be honest. And just as a reminder, here is that 492 head I was working on with the pretty heavy chamber cut. Notice how nice that works out with the liquid on there. Okay, these work really well, and these are the 492. So this is a heavy casting. It literally is as thick as the Bowtie, but it has bigger exhaust ports than the Bowtie. So this will make some serious power. These are the old Fireball heads that I did up. Unfortunately, they use that round exhaust that I'm not thrilled about, but they do kind of work. All right, guys. I think we're done today. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one.